Hi there, I'm Seb Maley from Qdos. Firstly, Happy New Year to you all. I hope you had a good break. And to mark the start of 2024, we thought we would give you a brief overview of what we might expect in the world of IR35 and status over the next 12 months. To begin, it's probably worth quickly recapping what happened in 2023. In last April, we marked the second anniversary of the implementation of the reform to IR35, which moved the responsibility of determining status from the contractor to their private sector engager. As we all know, the reform in 2021 created a huge amount of instability in the contract market and resulted in tens of thousands of contractors moving from working through their own limited companies to having to use an umbrella company. There's been a gradual softening in the stances of private sector firms over the last 3 years, and that continued throughout 2023, although there remains a sizable chunk of contracts that are still advertised on an inside IR35 basis. HMRC also ramped up their policing of the reformed rules, and dozens of private sector firms are currently going through the process of a compliance check. We closed one of these checks down last May, and we still have several ongoing, but if firms have taken appropriate steps to assess status accurately, they shouldn't cause too much concern. Whilst the IR35 rules were reformed in respect of medium or large engagers, the pre-reform version of IR35 still remains in place for those contracting for small businesses, and they can also still apply for work carried out prior to April 2021. Indeed, there are still many cases ongoing relating to retrospective work, and these are primarily focused on high-profile media personalities. We saw 5 such cases going to tribunal hearings in 2023, with hearings involving the sports broadcasters, Alan Parry and Stuart Barnes and Gary Lineker, and TV presenters Eamon Holmes and Kay Adams. Away from IR35, another issue which rumbled on in 2023 but is of much concern to contractors is HMRC's dusting off of the 2007 Managed Service Company or MSC legislation. HMRC have focused on contractors who have used 2 particular specialist accountancy firms and are arguing that these firms were too involved in the running of the contractors' companies, which would, if HMRC won, have a similar financial liability to IR35 in that all income would be reclassified as employment income. So if we look at what we can expect in 2024 and work back from that, the MSC cases are heading towards a tribunal hearing where a handful of contractors will be chosen and used as the test cases. Given the legislation revolves around the services provided by these accountants to their clients, the decision made in respect of a few test cases can easily be applied to the wider client base, and the eventual results will very much set the path for the legislation over the coming years. Perhaps because of the pace, or to be more accurate, the lack of pace in which these cases have progressed, they perhaps have not got as much attention as they should, but it is a pretty significant issue which could open up a retrospective risk for any contractors who use or have used a specialist firm of accountants. We don't know when the tribunal hearing will be yet. If they are in 2024, it's likely to be later in the year, but we hope that the judge will see that HMRC's attacks on these contractors go against what the legislation was actually designed for, which was very much in respect of contractors who genuinely had no or little or no involvement in the management of their business. HMRC's pursuit of high-profile media personalities is certainly going to continue. A number of the tribunal cases I mentioned were only in the first tier, which means appeals will trigger another hearing. These cases take a long time to even get to a tribunal, so there will still be more in the pipeline that haven't reached that point yet. We did have a reassuring result at the very end of the year with the case involving Kay Adams, which reached its 4th court hearing and fell in the favour of Ms. Adams. And that's despite HMRC having ploughed a huge amount of money funding their legal costs in attempting to prove that she was caught by IR35. You would hope that this would have an impact on the revenue strategy, but as things stand, their aggression in taking these cases through the courts seems to know no bounds. Indeed, we know that there are going to be upper tribunal appeals held for Adrian Chiles and Gary Lineker in February and Stuart Barnes in April. Another imminent case which could have an impact on IR35 and status more generally is the one involving football referees and their governing body PGMOL. This was heard in the Supreme Court way back in July last year, and we wait with bated breath for the results, but it could have real implications for how some of the key status tests are determined, particularly around control and mutuality of obligation. In respect of the reformed IR35 rules, we will continue to see the HMRC compliance activity I mentioned throughout 2024, and we'll hopefully see more cases being closed down in favour of the engager. These sorts of stories always give confidence to companies engaging contractors, which will hopefully result in more opportunities for work outside IR35 as the situation develops. Finally, the elephant in the room with all of this is the fact that we are heading towards a general election. IR35 has increasingly become a political issue, and as I've said before, I would certainly expect it to feature in some form, potentially from both sides, in the run-up to polling day. The million-dollar question is what Labour would do with it, and as things stand, we don't have the answer to that, but I would expect the parties to recognise that some sort of pledge around IR35 specifically could be a vote winner. So we could be in for some interesting announcements as the year wears on. As ever, we'll keep you fully informed of any developments, so please subscribe to our channel and socials for all the latest news. But for now, we'll see you next time.